Hello everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to another Blade and Soul video. Like two of the previous ones, this is a sponsored video, but I can assure you all thoughts are my own, all thoughts and opinions are my own. Now in this video, I get a lot of questions about skills in this game. Can you respec a lot? You know, what are these ones at the bottom? And I get asked about my class a lot, Blade Master, the only one I have at 45 currently in the beta. So I figured I would just do a brief overview of the Blade Master as well as go over the skill tree system, specifically Blade Master's skill tree in its own. Now I have some notes over here, so you may see me reading from them occasionally, but the Blade Master, it's kind of interesting to call roles into attention in this game because there isn't a traditional trinity. You don't have tanks, healers, DPS. The way that one of the surveys in the game represented the different roles was pure tank, support tank, pure DPS, support DPS. Those are the four roles that they clarified everything into, so no, there are no dedicated healers in the game. Now, Blade Master, in my opinion, falls under the role of pure tank. If support tank is going to be a thing, I'd imagine that's somewhere along the lines of tanking ads or kiting ads or something along those lines. But the Blade Master pretty much has access to most of its damage and has better access to its skills, better cast times, more resource management or better resource management when they are actively being the ones attacked. They can stun people who are attacking them, they can block attacks, they can parry attacks, they can evade attacks, and when they block or parry, their left mouse button and right mouse button abilities actually have no charge up time and generally have little proc symbols, or you can access certain abilities specifically after. Let me show you what I mean. So my left mouse button is this one right here, Breeze. So I have it set for all of those additional abilities. Critical hit restores additional focus on canceling defense with front kick, renders target unconscious for 30 seconds, and it also absorbs 20% of my damage. It also has a 3-meter area in front of it, and its range is centered along me. Now, if we look at Singing Lark, which is my right mouse button, you can actually see that it says it has an instant cast time and instant cooldown. However, it gets boosted very much. So this is what the ability looks like normally. That's what the ability has for its charge time initially. It gets a little faster over time, but overall, you can see that it doesn't have that instant gratification. So what I'm actually going to do real quick, I'm going to generate some of that. Now keep in mind, while I can block, I don't actually have access. So I just blocked with my left click. You can now see how much faster a lot of my abilities are actually casting. So I'm obviously not really playing to its maximum effectiveness, but you can get the rough idea of how much better the abilities work versus when I just try to cast them outright. It's a much slower process than it is otherwise. So as you can see, on successive block maximum boost, that just means that it's automatically at the end of its little cast time that it has, even though it is an instant cast ability. So that's a quick little basic. Now they have a bunch of CC skills. They have skills that can cause them to generate more threats so that they're always the target of the opponent. And they also have some pretty decent burst damage, as I've learned over the time messing with some of the skills that we have here. But before I go through and try to show you a little bit of my solo build that I have going right here, let's take a look at the skill tree itself. Now this skill tree is pretty overwhelming to new players at first, and honestly, when I played this at PAX Prime with no sort of previous information about it, it was overwhelming to me too. Luckily, I've had some time to explore what each of the skills do and how to maneuver this menu right here. So really quickly, on the left-hand side, you have all of your abilities. Now, I know that a lot of these abilities don't really look like abilities you see on my hotbar, as when I close that, you only see, what, 5, 6, 7, 11 abilities down there. Now, luckily, it lets you know exactly what button accesses each of these abilities and how they're accessed by just hovering over them. For example, Breeze was the ability I just showed you, but you can see all of these other left-click skills that I have. Flicker is only available in one of my stance's two stances, Draw Stance, which now lets you know there's a basic stance, the stance you just saw me in, and a Draw Stance, which I can access using a certain ability, which gives me access to new abilities as a whole. And then whenever I'm in this basic stance, I have more abilities at my disposal. I was going to say disposal. Disposal. There you go. So when I'm in draw stance, this becomes my left mouse button click. Well, when Flicker actually critically strikes, it turns into Blade Echo. So you just have to read the prerequisites on the right-hand side where it gives you all the information, its effects, damage, focus cost, icon, what the icon looks like, the area that it covers. All that information is available on the right-hand side. This one, when I'm sprinting, jumping, or gliding, Cyclone, on successful block in basic stance, on successful parry in basic stance. It gives you the conditions through which all these abilities are accessed, and your hotbar will automatically update to showcase that ability, which I can show you again by going over here. So I'm going to sprint towards that enemy right there, the head trainer, and you're going to see my left mouse button, which is Breeze right now, turn into the other skill, which then does that. So then, because these guys don't actually physically attack, I'll have to kill them before I can actually show you the other skill. Before I can show you my other skills right here. You can also see that my left and right mouse buttons are changing whenever I go into the air. Or even whenever I land a successful attack, the combo that is actually being executed here is a bit different. So we killed him off. I don't want to aggro those right away. I'll let that thing go crazy. I think it's going to go attack them. If it does, okay, well, we can always do that. Alright. So see how my my action bar just changed when I block? Now, I know on the left-hand side, you can see where I have my cooldown set up. It lets me know when I have access to those abilities again. So it's all about paying attention to your buff bar. Right over here where you see my premium membership, my bonus critical damage, Lunar Slash, which is a special ability or a special effect that this ability has. Whenever it can transform, whenever my abilities are changed. If, for example, my stun, now I know I can't make an enemy take flight for another 20-something seconds right now. It just keeps adding up, and you just have to be able to pay attention to that buff and debuff hotbar over there on the left-hand side. You're free to move it wherever you are, that's just where mine is. So, with that out of the way, we can now that you kind of understand what I mean by the abilities dynamically change as they meet certain conditions, we can discuss the different builds that are possible and what some of these different icons mean. Now, as you level up, at level 15, you'll start getting skill points. Now, I can retrain all of those skill points right here, and as you can see, it doesn't actually cost me anything. I can choose to do it. I can show what my current training is, or that was weird. Current training, I'm not sure. Well, whatever. I reset all my points, so that's all you really need to know. So now I'm more than welcome to just put them wherever I want. It's like, oh, well, do I not like this decision? Right click, go down the other path. Oh, do I not want any of these? It's very easy to change skill as long as you're not in combat. Now, in terms of the different effects that my skills actually have, all you have to do is check what the base ability does on the right-hand side. Those are its base effects. When I put a point into this, oh, it's going to do more damage. Cool. When I do this, oh, it's adding the fact that when I critically hit, I'll recover an additional focus. Cool. Now I have a choice. I can make it so that when the enemy is stunned, it's a guaranteed critical hit, or I can make it so that it's an area attack instead of a single target attack. All right, and then I only have one choice going down from here, and we'll talk about these symbols a little bit later. But now I can make it absorb 20% of the damage I deal as HP, giving me a little bit more self-sustain. So you can kind of get a rough idea of how to build yourself just by reading the different pros and cons of the abilities. Another example, we'll go over to, let's go over to another one I absolutely know. So then we have Singing Lark, which is the base skill. So I'll, just put the few points in here if I'm going to do anything. As you can see, makes its focus cost go down to 2, increases its damage. And then I have a choice. On consecutive uses, it has maximum boost, so it's not just after a block. That means I can charge it up a lot faster. More of a DPS skill as opposed to just a raw counter-tanking skill. Then we have this one, which increases threat. This is making the enemy more likely to attack me. Better in large groups, or better in group content to ensure that the target is always going after you. And this also makes it so it's easier to have access to that successful block maximum boost. And then we have Singing Lark, which absorbs damage as HP. Again, pretty good, but it lowers the overall damage of the ability. So, more of a solo skill. And it also changes the area effect, again, from a single target to an AoE. So you have to pay attention to all the little things that it can change. Now, real quick, I could go on all day talking about the different ways that these skills change for you. And there's a lot of different things. For example, this ability Rush, by default, does not have a stun. I can increase its focus cost to make it increase my movement speed for 8 seconds and also add a 2-second stun to it. I could have also turned it into multi-slash. If I don't need the stun, this makes it so I can resist damage and status effects for the duration of the skill. So that way, if I don't need the stun, I can instead use it more as a defensive cooldown, using it to avoid damage while increasing its cooldown. In other words, there's just so many options here, different ways that you can approach different fights even. You're not forced to go one necessarily best build, but of course, people do have general build paths set out for certain fights. So I want to put a few points into a few different things here. Let's see, what is it that I could really do? Let's see, maybe this one recovers 10% HP by default. Maybe if I make it do more damage? There's a lot of different options that I have here, and that's honestly one thing that is pretty fun to do about this. I can even go along the lines of Cyclone, which is usually used for focus recovery after blocking. I can make it so that it regenerates additional focus over 5 seconds, or regenerates less focus over 3 seconds, but also increases threat. So since I'm soloing right now, I don't really need any threat-based abilities. I'm really only focused on finding abilities that will help me solo. So we have a lot of those right here. Also, F is your proc button whenever you have a proc, which is just you use an ability and that causes a chain reaction to access other abilities such as flash step, such as stomp, such as take flight. All of those are automatically set as the F button. And luckily that's how the F button functions. It's basically your reaction button that'll combo abilities together more naturally for you. Well, let's see. Since I'm soloing, I probably want to be able to chain my CC together a little bit better. Well, let's see. This I can make have a daze on it. So I'll just make that have a daze. Now, do I have any other abilities that cause daze? Pretty sure I do. That's right. I have shoulder tackle. Shoulder tackle dazes for 2 seconds. So on certain enemies, you need to stack CC effects in order to successfully throw them off balance. And some enemies don't even have that available, or it's available very rarely. But by making sure as a soloer that I have the ability to daze my target with 2 separate abilities, I can self-chain CC together, which is, well, pretty effective, if I may say so myself. Now this one, I can make it knock down. Let's see, should I make it knock down? Do I have any other abilities that knock down? I do. I have this ability. If I wanted to, if I didn't need the knockdown, I could just make it inflict a lot of damage. But you know what? For clearing out enemies, I kind of like that knockdown. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put 2 points into my boot ability, and I still have 14 points to go. So let's see, what else can we get here? I'm actually forgetting where I want to put those, but I think I want to do this. Yeah, critical hit chance increases critical hit damage. What else do we have? Flash step. I can make it deal increased damage on consecutive uses. Make it move behind the target. I can turn it into blade guard, which parries attacks for 0.5 seconds. And it also, it's also accessible after Flicker, Blade Echo, Own Slash, so I can combo that right away pretty much as long as it's on cooldown. Only has a 6-second cooldown on top of that, so very, very good for CC chains and whatnot. Or I can just make it do more damage, move behind enemies. I think I'm going to actually go for the super high damage build while I'm soloing. Maybe I just want to kill my enemies really fast. We also have, where's a few other abilities we're looking at right here. This is how you know it's not rehearsed at all, because I just do it as I see it, you know what I mean? Soaring Falcon, oh, absolutely. We're going to go with, is this Flock of Blades? Flock of Blades? I think it is. Yes, it is. So we are going to go with, it's got quite a bit of damage on it by default. Let's see. Let me just, nope. Cancel, learn. Let me just look at my skill on my hotbar real quick. So that's the default one, which just does a little bit of damage. Let's go for something that does a lot more damage. This makes it do quite a bit of area damage. It does less damage, but it does area damage after a few seconds. Let's see, is there something else? That's my one, though. You know what? That's not actually the one I wanted. I wanted Flock of Blades. I wanted to get Blade Call for massive AoE damage. Now, I don't need the decreased movement speed, so I'm only going to go into that 1 point. And then, what do I want to go with for the last thing? I could also make Shoulder Charge actually as a gap closer. And you know what? I actually like that idea right about now. I'll make it increase the charge speed. And then, so many choices, so many choices. Let's increase the range of this and give it an additional knockdown time. So now that I have that build, it's good to go. I have it set up. And also, I believe what you can do is, using training expansion tickets, you can actually set multiple builds. That way you don't have to completely destroy a build before you can go. Also, if you don't want to go through all that hassle, they do give you generic dungeon, PvE, and PvP skill sets, but those are usually not the best, and you can usually find something that's a little bit better. Now, you'll notice at the bottom here, there's these skills that are locked away. Now, these have been pretty confusing to new players. And all this is this is a skill that needs to be unlocked either through PvE or PvP related achievements. So you can see here it just says a fabled Hongmoon secret technique that can't be found. But this would basically be Hongmoon technique ankle biter, or let's go to something Hongmoon technique lightning draw, or I can buy it for lightning slash volume 2 from Bloodshade Harbor. So basically it just lets you know that there is another way to unlock it. Now, from what I understand, achievement-related ones, like the achievement Hongmoon Secret Technique Lightning Draw, is actually obtained via PvP. While these other three are actually books that are gotten from endgame dungeons that can unlock this final tier. So doing endgame dungeons benefits both PvE and PvP players, and if the build so calls for it, doing PvP can also benefit you as a PvE player as well. So there's a lot of stuff to be done. It makes it so that all content is generally relevant to you as long as you seek to do it. Apparently, I've heard you can buy these books, these PvE or these PvE related books if you really want to. But depending on the popularity of the class, you may find yourself pretty stressed out trying to afford those kind of items. Now, with this build that I just put together, let's just quickly go through this dungeon and see if I made a good choice. You know, we can try it out. This Thrasher is still attacking these things. So then we have these aerial attacks. I CC them all in the circle, and then it just does massive AoE damage. And then I can deal with this guy. Perfect. So you're seeing those stomps whenever I get them knocked down. Just adds and adds and adds to the amount of power that I have. So Wild Thrasher, come on over here. I'm surprised. I guess this guy's invincible because he was there the entire time. Alright, let's see where he's going. Let's see. Oh, there's more Wild Thrashers over here. Alright, let's see. Then I'll go into Draw Stance. Ran out of resources with that one. And also, since my skills are healing me, I also do have potions that I can use for this. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to position in such a way right here, since I know I can't block them, that I'll be able to hit both of them with a single hit to heal for more damage. Wait, where'd the tamed... Wait, did they kill the other one? Or did he walk the other way and I just didn't see it? I think I missed it. Use that to get a little bit back. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that ability is very clearly not hitting that thing when it's in the air. So, while I am CCing it, it does have its downfall. I guess they were finally good enough to kill him. Oh, we got Flash Step. And you can see now I'm kind of able to do a decent amount of AoE damage. And this Wild Thrasher can just chill out here. Now, that's not where the boss is, though. So one of the beautiful things about Blade and Soul is that since it is very skill-based, if you're someone who is highly skilled, you generally are able to do things such as, I don't know, solo endgame dungeons, which is a little bit of a benefit that you can reap. It can make it so that you're not just forced to play with other people. Of course, it requires quite a bit of skill to be able to do that, but it is an option. It is a playstyle option that you have, and it's just a way, if anything, to showcase how skilled you are or are not at the game, as you'll probably see me embarrass myself quite a bit. Now, I have a question. Why am I stuck in combat? I'm assuming that's a bug. Maybe I need to open this gate over here in order to get out of combat so I can continue to show you. But it's just a very basic dungeon at the high level. I've soloed it before. I'm a little bit over leveled at this point for it, but the dungeon can still hand me my ass if I'm not paying enough attention. I'm hoping that what that'll do is make me out of combat. I've had this issue before a little bit in the beta. There we go. I had a feeling it was going to do something with that, so I'll regenerate some of my focus right now. And then I'm going to sneak around that pack. I don't need to kill every pack here, but I'm going to kill this pack. I think this might be a good pack. I see the spotter. I think the spotter might be a good place to start. And that's why, because now he's going to run and tell his friends about me. And then now I might be in a little bit of trouble. Luckily, as this, I do have the Warding Spirit ability, which allows me to actually block magical attacks, which I'll show you in a little bit. Now, you saw that I was, like I said, able to actually block magic, even though I said I can't. Warding Spirit, party members within range resist projectiles. And also, party members within range decrease their damage taken by 15%, and every time someone resists damage, I will heal health. So again, another party protective skill that also helps regenerate health and self-sustain, which I know is a big question that a lot of people have, mostly because this is a game that doesn't have, you know, doesn't have the traditional roles. So it's a little bit scary for some people coming in for the first time. That's why I'm trying to make it a little bit easier on you. Although, these enemies being as far apart as they are about to make it a much more hellish experience for me. Because I can't really do too much. I can see them a little bit right here. Maybe try and kick them while they're down. And I also occasionally evade attacks, as I do have some equipment that allows me to do that. Heal up a little bit there. I can sneak around this next pack. And I had to do this, by the way, at the level that this dungeon was relevant. Which, in case you're wondering, do people just go back and solo lower level dungeons? No. You can solo content that is relevant around your level. Again, assuming that you possess the skill to do so. And boom. Aerial combo. Like the chain CC a lot, that way I can't even take damage. And I also have an attack that only does anything at range, which is that attack right there. And I can charge in, stun, daze, and guess what? Just regenerating health. Just gonna go clear these guys out here. And then you can do a boss, because a lot of things that may work on big packs may not work on bosses. As you can see, I also got kind of thrown back right there. So much so that I actually thought I had to resist. Oh! You also have skills that only work when you're knocked down, so you gotta definitely be ready to make sure. That was what you just saw right there. That was what is known as an evade ability, where I'm able to evade to the side, get behind them, and either just dodge or activate one of my other activate my draw stance as Blade Master. So here we have just a quick little boss in here. Okay, I was making sure that I was gonna actually be able to heal up before I started. So let's see, my second wind is on cooldown for 5 more seconds. I have this food that I'm eating right now. I'm gonna go in. So one thing that I need on this boss, I need multiple gap closers, and I need the ability to, let me just get close enough so I can see that my shoulder tackle. I need multiple gap closers, and I need good AoE damage. So that is something that's very important on this boss, so I'm not gonna use all of my super crazy abilities right at the start. One thing I will do though is show you the beauty of being able to chain skills together. For example, Boot stuns when an enemy is casting, so I can combine that with rush, or I know that my charge attack, my dashing skill actually has a stun, so combo them together, start the fight off like that, and there you go, get a little bit of an advantage. And now at this point it's a basic 1v1 where it comes down to being able to accurately dodge skills. Now see, I messed that one up because I actually used one of my dazes a little bit too early. And then at this point, it's all about predicting skills and reading my opponent. Now, I'm actually playing a little bit too safe. I'm blocking way too early. But if you block closer to the end, you can access more things. Also, as you can see, pretty important to know what all their skills look like. And that becomes more important in endgame content. So here's the part of the fight where now I need to be able to AoE things down really, really fast. So, the main reason for that is because I know that the boss, that attack, can't actually be fully blocked. You can also dodge backwards to get out of attacks, so don't forget that. Why is he still doing this? He usually only does this, like, just long enough to annoy me, and then he stops. Now, that's a way of me seeing that he's going into another phase. Now, one thing you gotta do is, I know he has attacks that are gonna be very problematic to me. But you can see now, I don't feel like this build is adequate in the way that I should have handled this boss. And I died because of that. I didn't kill the enemies fast enough, I didn't block enough attacks, and I didn't use my gap closers the way that I should have. From that, you can take that experience and learn going towards the fight again. For example, I should have shoulder tackled over to the other enemy, killed it in a few hits, then blocked his oncoming attack, and then have dashed over to the other target. That was what the entire build was set up to do. So I set the skills up right, now it's just a matter of using them correctly. And the beauty of it is, you can do that with pretty much every class in the game. You can have solo builds versus group builds. You can have PvP builds that focus on one thing or PvP builds that focus on another. There's plenty of viable builds, and there's also incentive to do PvE and PvP to access the full power of those builds. I also know that a lot of builds don't come fully into their fruition until level 50. Currently, it's only capped at 45, so hopefully we'll see a little bit of that come in the near future. Hopefully they'll raise the level cap sometime in 2016. But anyway, I know that was a little bit of a long video, but thank you for watching this video on the Blade Master, as well as just checking out the skill trees in general. If you have any questions, be sure to ask them in the comment section of the video below, and I'll be glad to answer them. Sorry, I'm not going to ask you the question. I'll be glad to answer them, as well as hope that anybody else watching can answer them in that section below as well. So anyway, thank you for watching. I'm going to get going, a little bit hungry now, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, take care.